What's going down, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's good to see you again. In today's video, we're going to do a Q&A session. So we're going to go back over your comments on a lot of the videos, which thank you guys for subscribing. Thank you guys for your comments. It's been awesome. Let's start off with Walker Evans Velocity Series shocks. Built It Outdoors had a question on the Velocity Series shocks asking about the 5-weight, the 7-weight, and the factory spec is 10-weight, and how it affect by changing those different viscosities. Now, the biggest thing I want to bring up on this topic, which is a great question, is all the fluids that I've been using are full synthetic fluids. The reason that I actually go a little bit lighter on the fluids is because when that fluid's going through the adjuster designs, some of those adjusters in the shocks are real restrictive. And so for those reasons, I drop down the viscosities because it makes it easy to actually push the fluid through the adjuster design. And when you're running a lighter weight fluid in the shocks, it's more consistent of a feel throughout it. When you tend to go to a heavier weight fluid, it starts off at a thicker viscosity and then tends to drop down a little bit on you. So I personally have noticed in all the shocks, my favorite is 5-weight. Sometimes I'm actually running a 3.5. So don't be scared to try it. Obviously you may have to change your tune a little bit to adapt, but it's not that big of a deal. This one comes from Joe Kuko 2. When am I going to do a more thorough shock service video? I've been trying to do a real good shock service video for you guys. It's super tough because usually when I'm trying to shoot this stuff, I'm trying to obviously help a friend out or someone, so I've got to get the job done. And to honestly shoot everything at the same time and get the job done, it's a little bit tough. So I've actually shot a service video that I'm trying to get edited back together and up for you guys so you can check it out. But ultimately the goal for the channel is to show you guys exactly how to go through them thoroughly. So those will be coming soon. Again, I apologize to anybody that it drops off. I mean, it is something that I'm kind of new to as far as the whole video thing. So it's tough to do the shots and to actually do the work when you're a one-man army. So it'll get better, guys. Hang in there. Okay, so the next question is from Dan Matz. He says, has anyone ran these shocks, the Velocity Series shocks, on a YXZ? The only one that I can think of that ran it on a YXZ was... oh man, he used to race Best in the Desert. He had the Velocity Series shocks on there, but they were mounted completely different than factory. It was a really cool car, but not a lot of guys out there running the Velocity Series on the YXZs. Most of those YXZs that I see out there, the guys are actually running the factory shocks and having a company tune them, so that's not a bad way to go. Again, my shock of choice as far as aftermarket's going to go is going to be hands down the King shocks. The internal designs on those things, I think, are just the best that you can get. So if you're not going to go that route, find a local tuner, someone that's got experience with that car or a kit. There's another one that we're going to hopefully do a video on when it comes to YXZs. I've met a guy through social media that's building his own long travel kit. So hopefully we can get his car out there and get some video content for you and talk a little bit about his kit. Let me find his name. What's his name? I can't think of his name right now. Hopefully you guys can hear the bulldog. She's hanging out in the studio here, making a little bit of noise. Damn it, what's his name? Can't think of his name right now. George Lamont. George Lamont? I think it's George Lamont. Let me look. I think it's George Lamont. Okay. So other than that, the only other person that I know, actually I don't know anybody else running the Velocity Series on their YXZ. But what I do want to get for you guys is I do want to meet up with George Lamont. You may have seen his YXZ build out there. He makes his own suspension kit. I think he's got his own body designed for these things. So it's a really, really cool car. I think it's probably one of the best handling YXZs that I've seen so far. So I'm going to try to catch up with George and get some good video content on that kit for you guys. Other than that, not a lot of people running the Velocity Series out there on YXZs, at least that I've seen. All right, so the next video, CRF 250 Rally. Ed Page had a question about how are the tires performing. He does half street, half off-road. I do primarily off-road. I mean, I have the the plated bike just to basically get across different highways to the next trail. So I'm not really spending a ton of time on the trail, Ed. But they work great. I mean, when I do run them on the pavement, I'm just, a little cautious. I don't push it too hard, but I don't have a problem. I would rather have the better performing tire where I enjoy it the most, which is off-road, so that's why I went with those. Okay guys, so the next question is from Duke 390. This is again on the CRF 250 rally video. He asked what stand I'm using. It's funny because I think originally I commented back saying the Manfrotto stand for the camera, but I think what he was referring to is for the rally bike, what stand did I have it on? And I had it on an ASV stand. All right, Duke 390. So the stand that I had in the video for the CRF 250 rally is this ASV stand. It's tricked because you can, I'm gonna get it, lock it in either position. And it's one of those tilt stands. I don't, hopefully you can see it, but this thing's been great, man, because you can obviously store it anywhere, and it's pretty useful. So that's honestly one of the stands that I've held on to. There's plenty of others that I've kind of, you know, gotten rid of or given to friends, but that ASV one I always hang around. So I'll see if I can find a link to it and drop it down below for you. The next video is going to be XP Pro. All right, question here from Shooting Shit. What springs are we running? And this is on the XP Pro. So we went out filming on the XP Pro, originally kind of thinking to do a complete change where you know, we were going to swap everything out. So we took a ton of rates with us, as we usually do. And the funny thing about that is the car actually handled pretty well on the factory rates. Now, we dynoed all the factory rates to figure out exactly what they are. And the numbers are fairly close to what I would run. So I know there's been a lot of talk out there on the message boards about having the factory ones take a set and kind of fail. So you might not stray too far from the factory rates, just use a better coil. I would recommend using the Swift coils. That's going to be one of my favorites. I'll put some stuff linked down below as far as the factory rates go. But I think anything, guys, to take off of this is the factories are always going to have just kind of an okay coil on there, right? It's not going to be your highest quality, so you can always gain a better performance by just switching to a better quality coil. So again, that particular car wasn't that bad. So we still haven't had a chance to get the Pro back out because it's been going through a ton of builds with Long Travel Industries and doing a lot of work over there. So hopefully we can catch up with those guys again. Other than that, factory rates as of right now. Jason S has the next question. Oh, why not? He says, so why not go with live valve shocks? Okay. So Jason, on the live valve shocks, I mean, I'm not a huge fan. I'm not a huge fan on the live valve shocks. I mean, it is cool in the car to be able to flip the switch and change the settings. Basically, in the adjuster, there's a little like motor inside of there that will just take a frequency from one stage to the next. But I'm just have not been the biggest fan on the Fox OEM stuff. You know, there's always going to be a difference, guys, when it's an OEM shock versus like even Fox's race shocks, or you know, even like the Velocities. It's just different stages, guys. Whenever they're building these cars, they're always going to war on a bidding war for the shocks, right? So it usually is between Walker and it's usually between Fox, and so they're penny pinching, right? So I've just I hate to say it, but on the OEM stuff, I'm just not a huge fan of the Fox stuff because some of them I've seen too much internal plastic pieces that need to be, you know, done differently. So, but the live valve's cool because you can flip the switch in the car, so that part of it's pretty neat. I think once you tune those shocks, they probably work really well, and it is nice to flip the switch, but just something really not for me. I don't know that I'll ever own something with a live valve system. Who knows? We'll see. Okay, so the comments on the next video are going to be from the 2016 Razor XP1 K4, and this was a teardown video that I shot of a friend's shocks that I was servicing. And the first comment we have is from Brian Chesser. All right, Brian, so we did shoot another video of assembly for those shocks that I just have to finish editing. So I will get that one up there. And to answer your question on the PSI, I generally try to run at least 180 PSI on all the shocks. And the reason I try to do that is I try to get that fluid moving through the adjusters really quick because of the rebound speeds that we put into these shocks. So, you know, you want to make sure that that fluid doesn't foam up or cavitate inside there. So if you have really low gas pressure, you know, it'll cause that to happen quicker. Of course, if you run lower gas pressure, the shock is going to be a little bit more supple, but ultimately I wouldn't be trying to tune my shocks based on a gas pressure. I would be tuning internally. Gas pressure I would maintain so that we can get that oil staying consistent for us. This question is from Built Outdoors. How much oil should he purchase to rebuild his shocks? Well, generally, guys, I need about a gallon. So that can be 4 liters is a gallon. You may grab 6 just in case you spill some or maybe something goes wrong. You know, on the walkers, it's funny. Now, I've got over 25 years in tuning experience. So, you know, a lot of the things I'll just buzz right over myself because it's second nature. But, you know, when it comes to some of the walkers, if you don't get that floating piston in and moving at the right, I don't want to say the right speed, but if you don't get that set right and you assemble the whole shock, you can actually have a dead spot inside of there. So it's something to maybe always have a little bit extra. They hold about a gallon of oil if you get it right on the first go, but never hurts to have a little extra. So I'd probably just pick up 6 liters. So the next question comes from Your Only Once Here Big Cat. All right, so he's asking on his Velocity Series car, he noticed that one of the rear reservoirs is not positioned straight off the back of the shock, which is true. It's like this on both the Fox and the Velocity Series. I don't know why it's the driver's side that's clocked off of center a little bit. I just haven't had the car personally in my possession long enough to check that out. You know, that was the Turbo S video that we did, and that's, like I said, I have the shocks for a very short period of time, so I don't get to inspect it too deep. But you know, you may look at it and you may be able to reclock them a little bit. But I would definitely cycle everything without the coils on it just to make sure clearance is not an issue. You know, you got to imagine the factory did it for a reason. So I know he's trying to adapt and put limit straps on there. And I've actually asked around quite a bit trying to get some answers. It was, I believe it's Sandcrafts Unlimited has a car specific kit for this. But I'm not 100% sure on that, guys. I haven't seen it myself in person. So to answer your question, you should be able to reclock it, but definitely if you're going to do it, take those springs off, cycle it real good, make sure there's no clearance issues, and then check it out. So I don't know. I don't know that I don't like that though. You know, let's see if someone's going to come out. Let's keep digging and see if there's going to be an actual limit strap set up for these cars. You know, maybe what would be kind of cool too is if someone out there, there's a ton of fabricators, you know, if they'd actually make tabs on these arms to, you know, incorporate, you know, limit straps. I think that would be the ultimate solution. So I don't know. I'm not 100% on that one yet. All right, and that's a wrap, guys. This is the first Q&A session. We just wanted to jump on here real quick and answer a few of the questions and say thanks for all you guys that have subscribed, and thanks for all of your comments. I really, really do appreciate it. Now, we're going to continue the builds. Obviously, it's coming into the off-road season, so we're going to jump back into things, so we should have some more videos dropping for you guys soon. Make sure if there's something that you want to see, or maybe a car you'd like to see get tuned out or just put together trail ready, let us know in the comments below, guys. Thank you, and we will see you again.